Hi, and welcome along to the Invincible podcast. We are back for a brand new season. Arsenal kicking off against Nottingham Forest, 12:30 kickoff UK time. And joining me to discuss that and more is my man Lee Judges. Lee, we're back. We're back for a new season already.
We're back. It's like, looks like we haven't been away, but here we go. It's been a good week here. I can't wait. Is everybody happy at the moment?
I know why you're smiling with glee. It's Harry Kane news, isn't it?
Look, listen, I just got on the train and a Spurs fan come up to me and said, like, we'd be better off without Harry Kane. I nearly missed my stop. I'd say I couldn't stop laughing, like, you know what I mean?
Better off without
Harry Kane, like, you know. This is what I'm saying, like, you know. Listen, we've all been there. We've all lost our best players along the line, you know. But you got to say that. Look, I think at the end of the day, Spurs fans are in meltdown at the moment, which is great. Let's be honest, it is great. But you know, at the end of the day, I think they're in a great position. Like, they're going to get 100 million for a player that said he doesn't want to sign for him next season. 30 years of age, £100 million. Next season he can go to any club in the Premier League. They've got him away in Germany, so he ain't going to be like, you know, scoring goals and hurting them. I think Spurs have got a good deal. I really do.
Yeah, no, they got a good deal financially, but right, remember the last time they got a load of money, right, for a player. You know, remember they got Bale, the Bale money. They wasted that, right? And then not only that, I mean, listen, that weakens them significantly, right? You know what I mean? Let's be real. You know, we've begrudgingly said it over the years. He's a world-class striker. You know, even last year, innit, when they were so poor, he's still, you know,
30 goals.
Still scored 30 goals. You know what I mean?
Come eighth.
Yeah, so, you know, without him,
I think they are a little bit too reliant on him. So from that point, it might
other players
change.
have to step up.
They have to step up and all that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm actually thinking now, I've got a dilemma because people have been messaging me, putting on Twitter like, well, am I going to cheer on his goals now for England? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a Bayern Munich player. Like, I've never really liked Bayern Munich that much, if I'll be honest. You know what I mean?
Somebody also was pointing out to me yesterday, right, that he's the sort of player now. The sort of thing that will happen is we'll draw Bayern Munich in the
it's guaranteed. It is guaranteed.
We'll draw Bayern Munich in the Champions League. We'll be up
Book
against
the tickets.
him.
We get Munich. It's guaranteed.
And he'll score, won't he?
Oh, it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed we're playing Bayern Munich. I've actually said, like, we said that today with Miles, book your tickets for Bayern Munich while they're cheap. You know what I mean? Like, because it's guaranteed to happen. Like,
it's gonna be him. We know it's gonna be him. But you know what? And also you see the Caicedo one as well, which is a player that we were after last January. Remember we put that bid in for 80 million, which was, you know, Brighton refused to sell. They're now selling him for 111 million. And the craziness of the whole deal where Liverpool look like they've gazumped Chelsea now because Chelsea have been putting in bids all summer. The thing that I look on and I say to myself, right, is we've got to say well done to Edu and Mikel Arteta and all of that transfer team for the business that they have done this summer. We are on the verge of the first game of the season, right? And we've got all of our key signings in. Mm-hmm. They've all had a full pre-season. Timber, Havertz, Declan Rice, they've all played a full pre-season and are ready for selection in that first game. Last week, in the Community Shield, all three of them started that game, right? Now, all these other big signings, look how long it's taken to get the Caicedo thing over the line. Look how long it's taken for Bayern to get Harry Kane over the line. And they're all similar money, isn't it? They're all sort of £100 million deals.
Yep.
And at the time, lots of people were having a go at Edu. Remember, there was a late bid similar to the situation that we're seeing with the Liverpool and Chelsea thing with Caicedo. A late bid came in from City for Manchester City, came in for Declan Rice. Arsenal held their nerve. They'd done their groundwork to get the Declan Rice deal done, right? There were other teams, remember, looking at Declan Rice. There was Bayern Munich were looking at him. And they got the deal done. And they got it done early.
Yeah.
Early.
I'm just looking on my timeline and the old Twitter and Instagram to see if all Chelsea fans are saying like sack their recruitment person like.
Yeah, because how many bids? How many bids have they? They've literally been after Caicedo all summer.
We listen. You know, Edu got pumped. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because there was a little talk about the Declan Rice thing, like. But you know, look, we was out in LA, and he was always confident it was going to happen.
Yeah. He told us. Remember, he said he was always confident that they'd get it done because they'd done their
diligent
pre-work.
Their work.
They'd done their groundwork. Yeah, I mean,
and they had his word.
Yeah,
had his word on it.
Right. So you've got to say, when you look at transfer business this season, I think Arsenal so far have done the best business because it's not just because of the players they've signed, because they're, you know, listen, Caicedo going to Liverpool, I think
that's a game changer.
That's a brilliant signing. That's a brilliant signing, right?
If it happens,
right? I think it will. Well, yeah, who knows, right?
Who knows?
That'd be
Arsenal might come in with 112 million. Like, you never know.
But it's a brilliant signing, right?
Or get him on loan.
He's still got he hasn't trained with Liverpool yet. He's not going to be ready for Liverpool's first game. I mean, that's going to make that first game spicy. Liverpool versus Chelsea, that's going to be spicy, isn't it? But he's not going to be ready for that game. So, Arsenal, well done to them. Well done for the way we've done business. I think it's been, and we've not normally been able to say that over the years, but in the last couple of transfer windows.
And listen, the one that's blown my mind is anything else is the Raya one. To get him on loan.
Raya on loan. Yeah. Now, that's another unbelievable deal.
40 million he was to everybody else.
40 million. Remember, it's Bayern wanted him.
Yeah.
Tottenham wanted him. Right. They ended up going to buy a goalkeeper that's an unknown goalkeeper that they spent the same amount of money on. Right. Who else wanted him? Chelsea wanted him.
Yeah.
They wanted him as well. All of those turned down. Now Arsenal getting him for £3 million on a loan deal.
It's incredible.
And then it's a buy to let. You know what I mean? Because basically,
bit of Dido there, like. I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Like,
letting him out for loaning him for a season, and then at the end of that season, if we're not happy with him, we can send him back.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have cost nothing. And then the great thing about that is it only shows up on the balance sheet now as £3 million for this season, which means that Arsenal can still go out before the end of the transfer window and bring in another signing.
And also what it does is it takes a bit of pressure off of Ramsdale. All of a sudden, like, you know, it's not a £40 million signing. Oh, he's got to play him, he's got to do this and all that. I looked at that and I had to read it 10 times to work out what was going on. It's unbelievable.
Fantastic business by Arsenal.
You know, and I think what it does is once they sell a couple of players now, it gives us an option to go in for somebody else.
Yeah.
Whether
before the end of the window. Somebody of top quality becomes available, Arsenal can swoop.
We'll be ready to pounce.
Yeah. And also, going into that first game of the season, we're ready.
2 years on the spin, we've been ready.
We're ready.
You know, I remember going back a few years ago. Do you remember like getting stuffed by Man United 8-2 and then like the window was shutting 3 days later, scrambling around for players. Actually got Arteta in that window.
Yeah.
Mertesacker. But like even like, you know, waiting for the last day deals and all that, like, you know, standing outside the Emirates waiting for it all. That ain't gonna happen no more. We've done it. You know what I mean? What if we do get anything? It'll be our sort of rate, you know what I mean? I just think it's I've got to say, listen, you know, I do think Arsenal are learning from their mistakes. What they've got to do is now make sure they learn from their mistakes on the field, but off the field, the recruitment over these last 3 or 4 years has been incredible.
Yeah.
If you look at the players we've got, I've always said it, we brought in players like Ben White, Ramsdale, those sort of guys, Thomas Partey, you can even go into that, without Champions League football. So they were coming to the club because they wanted to play for Arsenal. And you look at all of those players, forget about the ones this season, but even last season's big signings and all that, like, all come without Champions League football. Like the guys have come in now with Champions League football, but even so, I feel that they want to be here. They want to play for Arsenal. And I think that is the key.
Timber said it. Timber said
it. All the time. Wanted to come to Arsenal. So I don't think that if we didn't have Champions League, I still think these players wanted to come.
Yeah.
And I think it's been fantastic. But listen, we can't reveal what Edu said all the time and all that, like, you know, because but what he said to us gives me confidence going forward over the next few years as well. I said it on another show, right? And one of the things that he did say when we was talking to us, he said that the hardest window for him was the first one. Yeah.
Because he said, you know, getting rid of so many players was really difficult, having to speak to these players and say to them that, listen, we're going in a different direction. He said he found that was the hardest window. And he says now, he finds it a lot easier now because, you know, you're just adding quality. And we've got a team of top quality. And as I said, we're ready for the new season. And what happened last season, we were ready for the new season and we got off to a great start. And that's what happens when you're ready. You can get off to a great start because you're ready, you're prepared, you're ready to go for that first game, right? And for the first few games, you're ready to go. It does take a lot of teams a little while to sort of settle into it, but Arsenal are ready to go. They've done their little experimentations over the pre-season, but I thought we saw last week a team that looked ready to go for the first game of the season. And I mean, just going back on transfers, there are still a couple of weeks to go until it shuts. The window closes on the 1st. The Raya deal, as you said, is only 3 million. Do you think we need anybody else? Is there anybody else you'd like to see Arsenal bring in before the end of the window? Is there a position? Or what else? Or do you think we're all right now?
No, I think maybe like, I still think we need another one in midfield. I think, like, you know, to cover Partey. I think, like, if you're going to play Declan Rice as that box-to-box player, I'd like to see him continue to play in the box-to-box role, like not in and out of it. I think that long-term, you know, Thomas Partey and Jorginho are in their 30s, so I'd like to see someone coming in that would be learning. For me, Lavia.
Oh, Lavia.
I'll bring him in. And then within
that's a 50 million pound.
Don't matter about that. We can sell Balogun. We can sell a couple of, or get him on loan. Just get a loan deal, like, you know what I mean? Give him but like someone like that, so that in a couple of years' time, when the guys are getting into their mid-30s, you've got someone ready to come in. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
and maybe a forward.
Yeah, I mean, I look on it and I say maybe. If Arsenal can see a good right winger, right, because that's the one position I look at it, I say Saka, so good, so, you know, but if he's injured, there's a big drop off to whoever steps into that role.
Yeah, but
right? I mean, Reece Nelson, I guess, can play in that position. He seems to me better when he's even on the left and he's cutting in on it. So, but I just think that position is one position where I'd like to see someone come in that would offer a lot of competition to Saka. The midfield position, I don't know. At first, I was saying get Caicedo, get Rice, but then I was sort of saying that with the view that Partey was possibly going to leave. But now that Partey's staying, for me, you've got Partey there, you've got Jorginho there. Bags of experience in both of those players and quality, right? If, say, even those two are injured, you can drop Declan Rice back into there and you can play Havertz in that, you know, box-to-box position. You can even play Smith Rowe in that position. So I look on it and I'm like, the Lavia thing, you know what it is, right? I sort of wouldn't be against Lavia. I wouldn't be against. I would be happy if we signed a player like that. But £50 million, he's still only 19.
Yeah.
I still look at it, I say to myself, Arsenal don't have to go out and buy everybody in this transfer window, because I look at what Chelsea did. I look at what Chelsea did last season, right? And basically, in the summer, they went out and they bought everybody.
Yeah.
They bought everybody. They bought players they didn't need. And they just bought. And then they ended up now, this summer, having to sell, because they had such a bloated squad. And sometimes I feel like you can just buy what you need, kind of thing, and then wait a bit. So maybe Arsenal just pull back and say, right, you know what? We could have spent another, say, 50 million here, but we keep that until January.
Yeah.
Because we never know, you know what I mean? Something could happen between now and January where we might need a striker, or we might need a this, or we might need a that, right? or they just say, you know what, we're going to wait until next season for that player to replace Partey, because we've identified this guy or this guy and we see them as the... I don't know, you know what I mean? So sometimes I think, yeah, you've got to have a bit of patience in it. Listen, I'm not against another signing now. I'm not against it. I mean, I know we've been looking at this Mohamed Kudus. That still could be... I mean, he was all lined up to go to Brighton. You never know, Arsenal could go back in for him. But I think the squad is quite... I'm liking the squad at the moment.
Yeah,
in practically every position, there's a lot of depth here, and if anything, I can see more players sort of leaving before the end of the window. There's a few players that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, I'm wondering if they're still, you know, going to be there. I mean, I still think Kieran Tierney, even though he's been sort of getting more game time, he's not started any of his games.
No, he's not started one.
Right, and then now you've got Timber starting in front of him. Zinchenko's coming back. You know, he's played Tomiyasu over on that side.
One of them, I think, might go.
Yeah, and then Tomiyasu's could go as well, because you think of it now, Timber can play as a right back. Yeah. And then you've got Ben White, who's, to me, he's the number one right back now. So, like, he's almost like a number 3. Yeah. So,
I think one of them will go. I think you're right there. I still say if a big offer comes in for Tierney, they'll take it.
Yeah, I think so.
And do you know what? When it go on to this Saka one, I'm gonna stick my own neck out here and say, like, give Vieira a go in there. You know, we spent a lot of money on Vieira. 30,
but he's not a right winger. Well, he's not a right winger. He doesn't.
Well, I don't know. Ben White a right back.
Yeah, but I just feel like I feel like he's not a like for like type player, and he doesn't go past players, does he?
Well, there's something you have to add into his game. I think.
No, but he hasn't got the pace to go past players.
I don't really know.
He's got trickery. He's loaded with skill. He's a bit lightweight, but he's loaded with skill. Very skillful player. I think he's a central midfielder. I think he plays where Odegaard plays.
Well, you know what I mean? But you've got Smith Rowe that can play there. You've got Havertz that can play there.
That's it.
I just think with Vieira, we've got to find a defining position for him.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, like, you know, listen, he's not going to play every week, but I would say, right, you know, see what he can do.
He's got to have a good team. I mean, we paid a lot of money for him.
Paid a lot of money for him, and he's got to, somewhere in the line, you know, get a defining role. If it is to back up for Saka, then let's see if you can do it. That's how I look at it. Otherwise, I don't really see him going. But what I see in the Community Shield, I know he come on. He done okay when he come on there, like, you know. Yep. And
he's got ability.
I think he has got ability. Yeah, I do, but I don't know where.
Yeah.
You know,
he's got to get more. I don't know, his physicality. He just needs he's a bit lightweight, man. You know what I mean? I look at a player
on the wing then, aren't you, than in midfield?
Yeah, I look at a player like who's a similar stature to him, like in Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing.
And even though he's a small guy and he's slight, right, he's so up nimble, for the physical battle, you know what I mean, as well as being a really skillful player. So I think he needs to sort of look at Bernardo Silva and try and, you know, be similar to him. But, you know, and I do think there's going to be outgoings and still there's guys like Pepe still at Arsenal. Nuno Tavares, another left back at Arsenal, you know.
Lokonga is another one.
Lokonga's still got to be sorted out. So there's still some outgoings and that to be sorted out. But we still got the you know, a few weeks to go until the end of the transfer window. But I think so far Arsenal have done well.
If you look at it, right, just for instance, you know, I think Balogun's definitely going to go, right?
Definitely.
So that's
100%.
So say if they got 40 million for Balogun, right? Yeah. And then they got another 40 million for I'm not saying like for Tierney, if that was to come in.
They won't get 40 million for Tierney. It'll be like a 30.
All right, so that's 70 million pound back to what we've done. You can then go and get, whether it be a forward or another midfield player or wherever. You know what I mean? It really does, and I think Arsenal will do that, like, you know, reinvest that sort of money.
Get Pepe off the wage bill as well.
Pepe off the wage bill.
You know, yeah, I mean, listen, as I said,
I do think there's one more. I think there's one more to come.
Nuno Tavares as well. Nuno Tavares, you can get like a 15 million for him as well. So yeah, I do think there's going to be outgoings, but yeah, really interesting. But so far, so good in the transfer window for Arsenal. And while Tottenham are weakening, we have been strengthening.
I've always been one of these. I hate the transfer window and all that, like, you know what I mean. But Arsenal have been pretty good in it, like, you know. But this last couple of days, I'm going to say, like, you know what I mean. put your feet up and just watch it, innit? Really?
Yeah, and that's normally what everybody else does with us.
You know what I mean? Like, because I suppose because we're pretty chilled about it, I'm looking at Manchester City are trying to do business now, with West Ham again. West Ham can't, you know what I mean? Like,
they don't even be able to spend the money they've got.
They're paying over the odds for players now, like, to just try and get players in. It's interesting what's going to happen there. I think clubs like Bournemouth have gone under the radar and spent some good money. I'm actually quite look forward to watching transfer shows at the moment, which is something I've never been really into, But all the teams, if you have a look at all the teams at this moment in time, all buying big players and everything like that, and it's really, really interesting. Manchester United, £70 million on a striker that, I've not really heard too much about.
He's not a prolific goal scorer.
Yeah, but so will that work or whether it won't? It puts them, they've spent big again, Man United.
Very big, yeah.
Fair play to whoever is at Manchester United to get Harry Maguire off their books for 30 million. That is a great bit of business for them.
Should be going to West Ham, isn't it?
Going to West Ham. I'll tell you what, how they've done that.
You see, City are trying to get Paqueta as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so
85 million.
It ain't worth that. But that just shows you the market at the moment. The market is crazy this season.
Look, listen,
it really is.
Caicedo is not worth 110 million.
Of course he's not
worth it.
Nor is Declan Rice. Declan Rice is not worth either.
But all of a sudden, Liverpool, everybody's going, top four, yeah, Liverpool. As soon as that's coming today, back in the title race.
Yeah, no.
So is it worth it?
Caicedo or Declan Rice not worth that money, but they're worth that money to the clubs.
Yeah, it takes you a different thing.
We needed a destroyer. We needed a player like Declan Rice, box to box, more power, more energy in that midfield, and we had to pay for it. Liverpool, they've lost Jordan Henderson, they've lost Fabinho. They need a dynamic destroyer in their midfield. They've had to pay for it, right? You know what I mean? So it's what you need at the time. You never used to see defensive midfielders going for the most money.
No.
If you look at it, right, is at the end, it's what's the player at Chelsea? Is it Fernandes? 105 million. Declan Rice, 105. 111 now for Caicedo. Defensive midfielders, you know what I mean? Casemiro went for a lot of money at 30 years old.
Man United started that by and listen, I think Casemiro is a fantastic player, same as Thomas Partey. They spent over £60 million on a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
So you work that out.
Yeah.
For when you're buying
mega wages as well
for 21 years of age, it's probably about the same sort of deal financially. But Man United knew how important it was to get him. And changed Man United were laughable at the beginning of the season. They lost to was it Brighton? They got stuffed with and then they lost to Brentford. And he came in and straight away changed them. And so it's an important role. I
think now the midfield is the most important. The way teams are playing so high up the pitch, a defensive midfield and midfielders that can stop transition and stuff like that are so important.
You was going to say the most important, but it's not.
The most important positions I think now in modern day football is midfield. That midfield engine room and creativity
it's up there.
If that ain't right,
never got appreciated in my day. I'll tell you,
that's because you were crap. You know what I mean? No, I'm only joking. But wouldn't you say that at the moment it's the most important part of a football team? The way the dynamic of modern day football is, if you don't have a good midfield, if you don't have a powerful midfield, a skillful midfield, and a midfield that can break up play and stop opposition play,
I think it's become vital over the last few years. But I think it's always been
It's always been important, but I think now, I mean, a defensive midfielder never used to be that important because teams used to sit a lot deeper.
It's highlighted a lot more, nowadays. But when I still say it's very, very important. The best midfield player, I still think Arsenal's I'm not saying our best player, but our most important player over our successful times was Patrick Vieira. Take him out of that equation was never the same side. Roy Keane at Man United, they've always been there, but I think now it's appreciated a lot more.
Yeah.
And the reason that it is as well is because it starts from them as well. Like, you know what I mean? They have to take the ball in positions that are very, very dangerous. For instance, the ball is kicked out to them from the goalkeeper. They're 10, 15 yards from their box. You've got to be pretty confident to give them the ball and make things happen. And that's what they do.
And like defenders, midfielders now starting most of the attacks and stuff like that. So they're passing range, and it's such an important position.
It's an important role.
Yeah.
And it's always been there. But obviously the goal scorer is, goal scoring is the one. If you've got a top goal scorer or someone's going to get you goals, that's the key. Always the hardest thing to do. But I do think it's if you win the midfield battle. And listen, I'll be really honest with you. Liverpool, fantastic footballing side for 5 years, challenging Man City, going all that. They're midfield aged last season. Look at the drop off.
Yeah.
Now they've addressed that, they're back. So I do think the midfield is a big thing. I think Arsenal's midfield last season overachieved. If you look at the Xhaka, the way that he played and all that,
he was brilliant.
He's brilliant. Look how Partey dominates and controls games of football for us. You know what I mean? So that we are able to put it is very, very important. As soon as he doesn't play Thomas Partey, we'll have a meltdown in here. Because we know, we do, because we know how important it is.
But now, the good thing about it now is that you could drop Declan Rice back into there.
Drop Declan Rice in there.
You've got Jorginho, you can drop it.
Jorginho, by the way, done very, very well.
Yeah.
People don't... I remember like the game against Newcastle away last season, he was superb.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a part to play. Yeah. I've heard people turn around and go, oh, he's rubbish and all that. Go and have a look at that game against Newcastle. He's a top quality
international
backup
footballer.
player, Robin.
Yeah. As a backup, top quality international footballer.
Yeah.
So the first game is on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff for us. Obviously City playing Burnley, the first one, but for us, the first game, we're at home. Couldn't have hoped for better to get the first one at home, right? We're playing against Nottingham Forest. All right, they beat us 1-0 towards the end of last season. But let's be real, that game we were already dead in the water because
out on our feet, weren't we?
Yeah, and we knew that we couldn't win the league at that stage, innit? I think that sort of made
mentally
it.
We'd gone.
Yeah, that game made it definite that we couldn't win it. But
payback
when we played them at the Emirates, we beat them 5-0. We beat them 5-0 at the Emirates. And, from what I've been reading, Forest haven't had a great pre-season.
No.
They haven't really made that many signings. They've got injuries. That Tyler Awoniyi, I never pronounced that name right. Just butchered it, right? But he's a doubt.
I'll Butcher Smith.
He's a doubt, and he was excellent, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was excellent for them.
I think their manager's under pressure this year. I think we heard little rumours last season that he was under pressure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that he will be this season.
Yeah. Let's be real, Lee. Even though you said you're nervous, and there'll be nerves because it's the first game of the season and we haven't seen us in that full competitive game yet, but you couldn't have hoped for a better opening game.
But I will have a beer tomorrow. I will have a beer. I'll tell you what I'm nervous about is because it's everything on it, isn't it? I'm going to say I really enjoy pre-season because you get your Arsenal fix, right? And we've had it fantastic, in America now. You get your Arsenal fix, but win, lose or draw, it ain't the end of the world. You can console. Even last week, I went to Wembley. I'm going to enjoy myself and all that, And even when we was losing 1-0, I was a little bit annoyed, but nowhere near like I would be. Do you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, it's on us, isn't it? It's
on.
Started. There's more on this game than anything. There's more in this game since like Wolves last season when there was nothing on that game. We're back.
Yeah,
it's back. The pressure's
on. We're at home.
I've got that nervous feeling again.
Last couple of seasons we were away from home. First game of the season. This year, we're at home. And as I said, Forest, who, as I said, they're not been in great shape pre-season. You couldn't hope for it easier. I think. Listen, we already know what Forest are going to do. Remember that game last year? I mean, literally. They showed zero ambition. They put everybody behind the ball. They were defended very, very deep indeed and tried to catch us on the counter-attack. And it worked. It worked that day. And I think they'll do the same sort of thing on Saturday. Arsenal last season got caught out a lot of times by teams like this at home. Funny enough, away from home, we played, in my view, I thought we played better away from home than we did at home. At home, we were so sloppy. I remember from even the first sort of home game last season, we played Leicester. We won, but we were sloppy.
4-2 or something.
Yeah, but I want Arsenal to cut that out this year.
Yeah.
At home, what I would like to see Arsenal do is make it an absolute fortress. You know what I mean? Cut out those mistakes. Keep loads and loads of clean sheets.
That's key for me.
Right? And that's what I'd like to see tomorrow.
Yeah.
A big victory, but clean sheet. But listen, it's the Premier League, and it's going to be a tough game. It's never easy, but
I'm with you.
We're supposed to win that game.
If we're 4-0 up, right, with a minute to go and we concede a goal, I'm going to have the ump. You know what I mean? Like, we concede goals. I think James was saying that we had conceded the most goals, third at home.
Yeah, at home we were poor. I thought at home we played some. I thought at home there were some great games we played, and there was some scintillating attacking football.
Fantastic.
But we were very sloppy at home. Very sloppy. I remember the game against Fulham. And there were lots of games. The Southampton one. Brighton. Just really sloppy goals in transition, and a lot of times
when we was on top. When we was on top,
and a lot of times against some of the sort of what you'd say the lesser teams. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Nottingham Forest. I don't like to use the word lesser, but teams perceived as, not one of the big guns, right? We've got to tighten it up this year. Got to tighten it up. You know what I mean? And, I think, listen, Declan Rice has come in now. That should add a lot of strength. And you saw even there was one situation last week where he got back and won the ball. That was brilliantly. You know what I mean? That's what we're going to need. Timber is really strong defensively. But even in pre-season, we saw some games where transition-wise, the game against Monaco, poor transition. The game against Manchester United. So we've got to cut that out. We did last week. I liked how we played last week. But remember, you're playing against City, so you're
different game.
Yeah, I don't want us to lose that focus when we're playing against Nottingham Forest.
We're going to play Nottingham Forest on. I'd be really interested to know what the percentage of play was last week. It would have probably been, I think City might have nicked it 55-45. It wouldn't have been a great deal in it. On Saturday, it's going to be 70 to 80% us. They're going to sit back and defend. Now, that happens a lot with a lot of teams, and we're conceding 2 or 3 goals against teams like that. That can't happen no more, Rob. But you've got to say, right, we've got 80% of the play. That means that the other opposition have got 20%, and they're scoring 1 or 2 goals in that 20% against us. That has got to change. I do believe that the manager has looked at that this season, and that's why he's gone where he's gone. Right, Timber's coming in, I think an aggressive defender. I think that what we need. I do think that there is a little bit of sloppiness in our play. I think Aaron Ramsdale made a couple of sloppy things last season. He's got Raya sitting on the bench now, you know what I mean? That remind him not to be sloppy. You know what I mean? I think that Gabriel's got that little mistake in him. We see that against Man United. That's got to be cut out, because if he keeps making mistakes, Kivio's going to come in, you know what I mean? So I think that all round we've got to be make sure, mistakes and they're accountable. Make sure you don't, you start off like a train tomorrow, get a couple of goals up, and then the defence does its job. Yeah. And I think last season, defensively, I'm not saying the defence, defensively as a whole unit, I think we failed at home on too many times. Now, people will turn around, it's very easy, isn't it, when you've won 4-1 and people go, what you on about, you know what I mean, we've won 4-1, you know what I mean, or we've won 3-2 and all that, it will come back and bite you at some stage. So make sure that you keep clean sheets. When you go away from home like we did last season, there was a much discipline. Look at that disciplined performance against Manchester City. That's what Arsenal can do away from home. That's why they're very, very good away from home, because they defend very, very well and tactically know what they're doing. But you have a look at that on Sunday. Ben White switched on defensively. All of them switched on. When we've attacking, that's when defenders switch off a little bit, like, you know, just, you know, like watching ball watch is what they say, don't they? And we do get caught out on that. That's something then that we cannot let happen this season.
Yep. Who would you start with as a striker in that game? Obviously, no Gabriel Jesus. The options look like they're going to be Havertz, who started last week, Eddie Nketiah, or possibly Trossard.
Very interesting one, this, because I'm
not going to reveal mine because
you're going to review it tomorrow, yeah?
Well, what it is, there's a predicted 11 video coming out. If you want to see mine,
right.
If you want to see mine and the reasons why I've gone for it, check out that predicted 11 video. But what's yours?
Right. Well, I thought it was a very interesting comment that Mikel Arteta made last week when he said that he played Havertz in it because it was the opposition. He looked at Man City, they would have a little bit here, we need to get a little bit of ball control in certain areas, and that's why he went with Havertz. So I think that he looked at that, horses for courses. If it's me...
If it's you, yeah.
I would go Trossard because it just gives us a little bit more of an option in there, like, do you know what I mean? Like, because they're going to be sitting back a lot more. I've been really, really impressed with him. But he spent £65 million on this guy. He's got to play him, I think.
He didn't spend it. He didn't spend it on him for to be a striker, though, did he?
No, but he spent 65 million on him.
He doesn't have to play him just because he spent 65
million.
million.
Well, I think, like, you know what I mean. Like, I think you've got somewhere along the line justify that.
Well, I disagree with this thing about you spent £65 million on a player, he has to start. No,
I'm not saying he has to start, but I think that because he spent that money, he will.
Okay. Well, if you want to, as I said, you want to find out mine.
Well, right? Go and look at the video.
Who would you start at left back?
Timber.
Oh, he just said it straight away. Not Kieran Tierney.
No, same back four as. I think he'll say the same team that started against Man City. I've always said that. Like I said that, you know, looking back at last season's pre-season, I think that, you know, that's. And I'm going to be really honest with you. When I see that team against City, I thought, yeah, bring it on, City. I did think that. You know what I mean? I really did. I think Timber. I get where are you going to play Timber? You're going to play him right back. Ben White was superb the other day. Like, people keep going on about Ben White. Ben White, tired towards the end of the season. Oh, we can't wait till he gets that. Jack Grealish didn't get a kick against him last week. Not a kick. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, he plays. He's nailed on at right back. The two centre halves speak for themselves. So it is the left back. Timber, you know. I know your mates now with Zinchenko and everything like that. Not enough games like that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, Zinchenko ain't going to make that
what
game.
A guy. What a lovely guy, though.
But he won't make that game.
But he won't make that game. So I think you need to have that little bit in midfield, and I like what Timber done. So I will go with Timber.
That's the thing, like what you're saying, Zinchenko to come back, and we saw when a fully fit Zinchenko last season was brilliant for us, right? So what happens to Kieran Tierney if now he's able to cover this left and right hand side? I mean, it is going to be interesting to see.
The only other thing that can happen, it might well happen, is that Zinchenko pushes into midfield. It's something that can happen.
That's a thought.
And that would mean then
could play the Xhaka role, couldn't he?
Could play that Xhaka role. Could play that.
That's what James has been pushing for that.
Yeah, well, it could happen this season because we've got more cover in there. Like, but I do think on certain games, like, you know, I wouldn't be. Kieran said this. If we're going Liverpool away, Man City away, Tottenham away, those sort of games, I would have no problem playing Tierney as the left back and play a proper solid back four where we don't have to do that. But I don't know if he's going to have enough games to do that. Like, if I'm Tierney, I'm sitting there thinking, right, Zinchenko's out. I'm going to have to. This is my time to play. Like, all of a sudden, Timber's in there, or Tomiyasu's played in there on occasion. So I would be a little bit worried about that, but.
Welcome to being a big club, man. That's how we've got to operate, and there's going to be Champions League.
Who would you go with then? Are you going to go to, what's your back?
Again, I'll reveal that on the...
No,
I'll tell you, I did agree with you. Timber.
Yeah.
Timber.
You going in goal?
Huh?
Who's going in goal?
Raya. No, Ramsdale's in goal for me. Ramsdale's still my number one, man.
Yeah.
So Ramsdale starts, but it's great to have such great competition for places. And you know what I mean? And there was a number of times last season when Ramsdale went down injured and I was thinking, oh my God. You know what I mean? Let's hope he's all right. You know what I mean? So at least now we know we've got a guy that can back up, who's played in the Premier. I think that's so important as well. He's a Premier League goalkeeper.
He's proven
Premier League goalkeeper. Fantastic at distributing the ball. Maybe better than Ramsdale at that. You know what I mean? So it's going to be serious competition to Ramsdale.
This is the first time now that I've been. I tell you what, Matt Ryan come in and done a very, very good job for us.
He did all right, yeah.
As a backup goalkeeper.
He did all right, but if Matt Ryan would have been in for 10 games, would you... and by the way, he might be playing against us tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because
no, not Matt. No, Matt Ryan. You know, who played.
Oh, Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Matt Turner. Oh, Matt Ryan, who we got from
yes,
Brighton.
from Brighton.
Yeah.
I thought he was very like that. Was a great number 2 situation, but he wanted to play first team football. So for me, I wasn't 100%. I'm going to be really honest with Matt Turner. Seemed like a lovely guy and all that. But I remember going to Sporting. He played in goal that day. Every time the ball went across, I had my eyes shut.
That's when you was calling him Tina Turner.
Tina Turner, you know what I mean? So.
He's done all right for the United States. He's a decent goalkeeper. But Matt Ryan's a different kettle of fish. He is quality. Sorry, Matt Ryan. David Raya.
Yes.
He's quality. So it's exciting times even in the goalkeeping department. So, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Your prediction for that game tomorrow?
I'm going to go, well, this is what I want. 3-0 to the Arsenal. I want us to set a timeline of destructive football. I was very, very impressed with the way we played in the Community Shield. I have to say that. But we're at home. It's a different game. I want to see that, and I also want a clean sheet. You know, I'll be really honest. If we win 1-0, I'll be more than happy than if we win 3-1 because I want that clear. I want us to be ruthless defensively this season.
I was predicting 3-0 as well. What do you make of the new rules? Remember, that's the other thing now. The rule change for which we were subject to last week in the game. You saw Thomas Partey get a booking early in the game because he kicked the ball away slightly, that sort of time wasting. You're going to get booked for that this season. Mikel Arteta got booked because no more abusing fourth officials and stuff like that. He got booked, right? There are going to be more bookings this season, and also we saw how much time now they're adding on. There was 9 minutes at the end of that game. There's been some players complaining, saying, I think it was Rafael Varane, saying it's ridiculous the amount of time that's going to be added on and stuff like that. Where do you stand on the time being added on?
I think we don't want to go too far that way. You know what I mean? When there's games 15, 20 minutes long and whatever, 15 minutes. Listen, I actually didn't know that Thomas Partey had been booked for that little kick away.
That's right.
So when I see it, it's a little bit harsh, but that's the rules.
It's the rules now. It's the rules.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Get on with the game, and that will cut out that. What I think is more of it is with the goalkeepers wasting time and all that. Over the last, we've seen it at the Emirates and everything like that needs to be cut. I quite like the new rules, if I'll be honest.
I love it.
There's a rule now also that if you get injured, you have to wait 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's why Odegaard, when he came off last week, again,
he was,
and people go, get him on, and everyone was moaning. No, that's the rule change as well, and I like that.
I like that rule because that means you ain't going to waste time going down.
That time wasting thing, I've heard so many people going on about, players moaning about that, other ex-players moaning. I'm sorry, I love that rule. When they're talking about, there were even some players saying, but it's not great for the fans because if you've got to catch the last train. Listen, I don't care. Add that time on. I remember Newcastle last year when they came.
Yes.
Right, the amount of time they wasted, right? Goal celebrations take ages sometimes. Why should a team score a goal, celebrate? Manchester City last week when they scored, they said that their goal celebration, despite the fact that they were trying to carry on afterwards, why are Arsenal celebrating? Their goal celebration took 1 minute 40 seconds, right? Long ass celebration. They're all down in the corner, this, that. Arsenal do it as well. All the teams do it. Why should that not be added on?
No, I agree with that. The one thing that I do think that referees, and listen, Thomas Partey kicked the ball away after 10 minutes or so, like, you know what I mean? I think Bernard, was it, I can't remember what Man City player done it as well. It was in the first half anyway. What I want to see is when the goalkeepers deliberately time waste. We know you're doing it, right? And they get a yellow card in the 80th minute or something like that.
Yeah.
I want them done early.
Yeah.
As soon as they start messing about, trying to move the ball across and do things like that, you're done.
But you know the thing about it now, you know the thing about it, keep doing it because, you know what I mean, it's going to be added on.
Yeah.
That's for me, right? You know what I mean? Because what used to happen before, they waste loads of times. They get booked late in the game like a little symbolic booking, but they've still wasted the time. They've still wasted it, right? And I think this new rule will benefit teams like Arsenal. Teams that are looking to play.
Oh, very much so.
Teams that are looking to get on with the game and play football. It will benefit them, and it will not benefit teams that are last year when we played Nottingham Forest. Very negative. Lots of time wasted, lots of players falling down. And you say the thing about the booking, right? And again, I've heard, I think I was listening to Danny Murphy on the radio the other night, obviously a really good ex-player, played for Liverpool and Fulham. He was saying that, the referees have got their cards, book the players for that. You don't need to be adding on loads of times for that. But remember, teams are smart. They pass it on. So you'll go out there, you go, you Lee, you take the first time. Time wasting.
Of course I do.
Once you get a booking, right, we'll pass that on to Robbie. Robbie, and you waste the time. You get booked, and that's what they do. They pass it already. They're very smart, these teams. They'll pass around the time wasting. They'll pass around the sort of slowing down the game. The ball goes out of play for a throw-in. They take ages to throw it, wiping it down. That's another thing. They're not going to have all these towels this year to go. I agree with these rules. Let's speed up the game. Let's get more out of the game. You know what I mean? You go and watch games and the ball's in play for like half of that half.
I'll tell you another thing that will happen. I guarantee this will happen a lot this season, right? I'll tell you that now, right? Goalkeepers will go down injured a lot more. Right?
But they'll be added on.
Yeah, be added on, but they won't be taken off for 30 seconds.
They won't be taken off for 30 seconds, but it'll be added on. I agree with this thing.
I think there will be at times when, things are going right. I think Arsenal done it quite very, very cleverly last season. Like there was a couple of times that Aaron Ramsdale would go down and then Arteta would get the players over and all that.
Yeah. But now
I see that going on.
That kills the game. But now that will be added on.
It will be added on.
It'll be added on.
If a player does it, they have to be off for 30 seconds.
Off for 30 seconds,
but the
goalkeeper will take on it. Yeah.
So you'll see goalkeepers going down a little bit more. It's all tactical stuff.
It's all tactical stuff. But
at the end of it, if it gets added on at the end of it, then it's great.
You're one of these teams that time waste. You're going to get like an extra 10 minutes every game, and then you're tired. It will give the other teams more chances to score. I'm in agreement with it.
Listen, Newcastle got slagged off a lot for it last season. They've done it to us last season and got criticised for it. A little bit unfairly because
not unfair because they didn't just do it against us.
No, they did it
against many teams.
But other teams do it as well. But they got highlighted.
They're one of the worst ones. That's why.
Yeah, but that at the end of it, and I think that probably they got criticised a little bit more for it because they was a big side. If I look at it really, but other teams are doing it, but they was highlighted it more, right? They won't be able to do that so much now. But they had it done to them a few times last season, and they didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
What I mean, so even like teams that do it are going to now have to fall into line of it.
And what will happen is, as the season goes along, right, it will start off. You'll see a lot, and as the season goes along, it will drop and drop and drop. Like what you did in the World Cup, was teams realise it's not as much of that.
No, exactly.
So I'm in agreement with it. Before we go, I want to get your predictions for the season, right? So. Let's get your top, not only would say top 4, top 5, isn't it? Because isn't it from next season?
I don't know if it's next season or the season after.
Is it the season after?
I'm not sure.
Right, let's get your top 4 and your relegated teams as well. So let's start with your teams that are going to get relegated.
Well, unfortunately, I think Sheffield United and Luton will come out of there. And I did say Wolves, but I don't know so much now they've changed their manager. I think with Wolves, there was a lot of uncertainty going on in there, weren't there? You know what I mean? But I think now Wolves. I'd love another team to be relegated, but I don't think that's going to happen. But so that's my 3.
Yeah, I'll go Sheffield United as well. They haven't bought anybody. They've sold some of their better players as well. They've a lot of financial troubles despite coming up. Can't see how you survive with, teams are spending 100 millions and things like that on players, and you're selling your best. You've got no chance of surviving, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Sheffield United. Same with Luton. And also I think with Luton, the fact that, they're not moving into their new ground they're not moving into their ground straight away because they're having to make these improvements to the stadium. That's going to affect them. The place where they're going to pick up most of their points is going to be at home, because a lot of teams are going to get a shock when they go to that ground. The fact that, it could be quite a few games before they've even got, I think that's bad news for them. I think they'll go down. And I think Wolves will. I think Wolves, they haven't really bought no one. They've still got a lot of quality in that team.
Yeah, lost a lot of quality now.
Neves has gone.
Yeah, they were struggling, weren't they, until they got that manager in.
Yeah, Traore's gone. I think they're going, man. So I'd like them to stay up, but I think that we got some good friends up there. But I think Wolves could go. And your top 4?
My top 4: Manchester City
winning the league.
I still think that they're favourites at the moment, and I do think that Manchester City will bring in a couple more players before the end of the season. So I think Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and I'm going to go Chelsea, because the simple fact is that they haven't got Europe. Okay. If you have a look at the Champions League last season, 4 teams that were in it, only one survived. Liverpool, Spurs and Manchester United not in it. So was it Manchester United? Who was it? Who was the 3 last?
Man City.
Man City,
Liverpool, Chelsea were in the Champions League, and
Chelsea. So all 3 of them didn't get. Man United were in the Europa League, weren't they?
Didn't they drop into Europa?
No, because Barcelona come down, didn't they, and played them.
Oh yeah.
So it was Chelsea.
It was in the Champions League.
Chelsea.
It was Man City, Liverpool,
Chelsea
and Spurs. Yeah,
and all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So only Man City survived. So I do think that's going to be very, very difficult, and that's why I think Chelsea, who have not got Champions League football or any sort of European football.
Yeah.
I think maybe sneaking.
All right, I'm going to go Arsenal win the league.
Ooh.
City 2nd, Liverpool 3rd, Manchester United 4th.
So you've got no Newcastle or Chelsea?
I think Newcastle will be in and around it. I think Chelsea might struggle to get in the top 6, man. Villa are a good side as well. I know they've got European football as well. I don't think Chelsea will get top 4. That's my opinion. I mean, listen, I could get it wrong, but I think it's still going to be transition season.
I'd love to see Aston Villa or Newcastle do it again. I'll be honest,
who's your dark horse for the season?
Aston Villa.
Yeah, they're going to have a good season. I think Newcastle. I don't know if you can call them a dark horse anymore, because but I think they'll be strong. I think it'd be very difficult to beat them at St James's. And I think they'll be strong.
Burnley would be a difficult team to play against this year. I think it's a horrible place to go.
Yeah. But
who's your dark horse then?
Dark horse, Newcastle. Even though I guess they're not really a dark horse, are they? Dark horse.
Who's going to be the biggest disappointment? Who do you think is a team that you think is going to do well or not?
Do well?
Yeah, but not.
It could be Villa. I think there's a lot of expectations on Villa because they bought really good players, but they're in Europe for the first time, and also Newcastle as well. How will Europe affect Newcastle? They've not really been in Europe for a very long time, you know what I mean? And could that affect them? You know what I mean? A couple of injuries here and there. We know the effects, so
I think 2 teams, and I'm gonna put us in it, that could go
same thing with the Europe thing.
Yeah, it could go either way with Arsenal this season, right? And Manchester United.
I think Arsenal are going to be strong this season. I also think United are going to be strong this season. I really do.
I'm not sure. You know what I mean? The indications are that Arsenal and Man United are going to do well.
Arsenal strengthened very well. And I think United have, they're still lacking in a few areas, but they've strengthened. They're getting rid of some of the dead wood. I don't know. I think both of them are going to have decent seasons. I really do. I do think Liverpool will be back. I thought they'd be back even before they were bringing in Caicedo. Now I think they'll be challenging for the league.
Yeah, I do.
Right? I think Tottenham might be a team that don't have a great season because it's a transition. No Harry Kane. That's going to be a big, big miss for them. Who's going to step up and score all those goals? It's going to be an interesting season. But listen, all we want to do is see Arsenal come out on top. But of course, it all starts for Arsenal on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff UK time against Nottingham Forest. And we are looking forward to it. We've got a watch along here in the studio. We're going to be at the game as well, speaking to fans. So listen, keep it locked here on AFTV. But Lee, thanks very much.
Yeah, enjoyed that.
Right, enjoyed the Invincible podcast today. Remember, you can get it on all your streaming platforms. So download it now and have a listen. And we will be back next week. But looking forward to that first game of the season. Come on, you Arsenal.
Come on, you Gunners.
The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.